Okay, let's get started with this chainable function. Are you excited? Because I'm super excited. I am really excited for you to use this because this is going to seriously revolutionize the way you program stuff, and it's going to make your life a whole lot easier because you're going to be creating a lot of amazing libraries with this. So let's go over the first part of it, which is this part. This is just open function. So let's go over to our JS chain JS. So I'm gonna make it you know what, I'll leave it open for you so you can clearly see it. So like we talked about in the past, when you want to create a function, you use a regular variable naming convention, letters, names, and not start the function with the number sign, always started with either underscore or letters, so on and so forth. We already talked about it extensively in the previous video, so I'm not gonna go too much into it, just a little bit. All right, so we have a function called query. So we open a function like this, then we close it like this, which is towards the bottom right here. All right, so within this function, we have a function called select. And then this particular function accepts one parameter called user array, as we saw in here, which is in here. All right, so it checked to see first, hey, if this particular entry, is it an array? If it's not, it's going to throw an error message. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm gonna make this a string. So right now, this is a string. This is not an array. So let's go back to our page. And if I refresh the page, it's going to say, hey, data is not an array. Obviously, you can make that message to say whatever you want. That will make it easier for you to debug your code when you're working on it. All right, so I'm going to change it back to the array. Let's go back here. So that's what happens after it says, hey, okay, this is actually an array. And then this function, what this is pretty much anything within this function you can use. That's what basically this means. And then we're saying there's going to be another attribute called value. So let me just show you real quick what that means. So let's console this out, call it this. And then let's refresh the page. And let's go in here. So in here, what it's saying is, when you call this, let's go here. So it's saying this particular one in the console log. So whenever that word this is called, we have options to all of these subcategories called as select, show, and then value. In this case, the value is this, and then where, so on and so forth. That's what that is. So this particular word is very powerful in JavaScript, extremely powerful. So in here, we're saying within this, we are adding another variable called object, you could say, or variable. I would just say call it object called value. And then this dot value is going to be equal to this user array, which is this multi-dimensional object, JSON object. So that's all we're doing. And then after it has assigned it, then we're going to return all of this back to its function. And that's what happens up until here. So it's, hey, take this, return it, and then once you return it, then later on you can use that when we look at the where function. So let's go over to the where function. So in where function, it takes a one parameter called where object. So let's go look at our where object. It takes an object which has an ID and whatever the value that we want it to match up to. So let's go here. So that's what's happening here. So it says, hey, this is the parameter that's us getting passed. And like we did this equal value that, so now we can recall that value by using this value, and we can assign it to a variable called collection. I'll just add a right next to it. You can use it without it, or you could use it with it. It's nice to have the bar in front of it, but it's not really necessary. But being that you're starting out, you should start with a good practice. So add a bar next to it. So it's going to be collection. I'm adding it, creating a variable called collection, and that variable has this value, which is the object array, which is entered by users. And now this has another variable called a, which is the empty array. And then I'm just calling it prop. I don't really need it, but I have it here for now, just because it's an extra variable. That's why. All right, let's move on. So now we're using a function called map. This is another for loop similar to like for each. It works the same way. This is a plain vanilla JavaScript for loop function. You could use for loop if you want to, or you could use map. I just used the for loop just for sake of being different, learning more things, teaching you more things. That's all. So that's that. And then within this function, collection, and then for each, for lack of a better word, I guess. And then we have another word loop called for. So what this for does is it's going to loop through each one of the objects rather than array. So let me show you what that means. So if I go in here, let's say we have multiple one of these in it. So for, which is for in, is gonna say, hey, whenever I see this, I'm gonna loop through ID and name. What for each works is gonna go look at this as a whole, and then 1, 2, 3. However, the for in is gonna look at it ID equal this, name equal this. So think of it this way. For each is your major loop, which is gonna look at it like a grand scheme of things. And then for in is going to look at the detail within those details. So what that means, so we have this bracket array, which has 3 rows. And then within 3 rows, for each is going to say, hey, this is row 1, row 2, row 3. For in is going to say, okay, this is row 1, but within the row, I have a column called ID. What's this value? I have a column called name. What's this value? So on and so forth. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's move on. So that's what's happening here. So the very first object is the element. It's the element, which I'm calling it E1. This is something that we can use within our for in. And the second object, or parameter you could say, is where. So I'm just going to delete this out because we don't really need it. So where, which is something that is getting passed on as a function parameter. So in this case, this where is going to be this object, ID equal to. All right. So what I'm saying now is, hey, where ID equal to, pass it as this, and then within this, it's gonna say, hey, this E1 is gonna grab the ID, and then it's gonna grab its value, just to show you. So this is going to get its ID, this is going to get its object value. So ID will be just the word ID, the value is going to be 2. That's what's gonna happen here. And then this V1, which is the actual row, this whole row, row 1, row 2, row 3. And then it's going to say, hey, if row 1 ID equals, when you put it like this, it's going to give you a value, which is going to be 1. If the row 1 ID equal 1, and then the object ID, which we are looking for, where object, the value equal 1, then what I want you to do is take this whole row and push it in this array. And after you went through all the different rows and you found the value to be dissimilar, then I want you to assign the value like we did before, like up here, to this. So value this equal this array that we just created, and then return this. So return this whole whereabout thing. All right. And then that's what happens. So we're good up until here. And then once we have that one single row, in this case it's going to be this, what we want to do is call this show function. Then it's going to say, hey, whatever the current value is that you got here, just return it. All right, so that's that. And then last but not least, then within this whole function, the only way the function is going to return is by we are going to set it a certain object. So we're going to say, hey, within this function, there's an object called select. And then select is going to call this function called select. Where is going to be where, show is going to be show. I'm calling it show, but in this case, if I want, I can call show one. But when I want to call show function, it's only going to be calling in here like show. So whatever is object is name in here, that's the name that I'm going to be using. So just to show you, if I go in here and refresh the page, as you see, it still works like it did before, even though I changed this to show one. So in this, this part is external. This is something that I'm calling. And then this part is internal that's within this. So I can call this X, Y, and Z or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But say for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to call it just show. And delete this too. So that's one way to call it, which is just like this, which is simple and easy and fun. However, obviously I want to give you extra, so I'm going to show you another way to do this. So I'm going to comment this out. All right, so let's go down. So it's called query underscore this. For the most part, everything that we just talked about is similar, exception that in here we're calling a var show, and at the bottom we're saying return and then within the objects. So one of the downfall of doing it this way is if you call or create a function that you forget to return it here, that could cause some problem and some stress. You're like, why the hell is it not working? I know it's working because you didn't put it in here to return it. That's why. But if you want to do it this way, and also keep in mind that whatever you call it up here, that you want to use it externally, you have to come back in here and use it. However, if you don't want to do it that way, you just want to do it something simpler, you could use it this way. What that does is you just pretty much, rather than adding it var.show, you take out the var and you just add this dot, and that's it. And then what that's going to do is it's going to return every single function that is in there that you want to use it. You don't have to use return at the end. It will just use it for you. It will just give you the return value for you. So let's see what that does. Is the only difference is when the way you call it. Like open function, you could just call it like this. Just open query, whatever the function is, open bracket, close bracket, and that's that. With this function, you have to add the word new in front of it. That is the only difference. If you're okay with that, life is great. So let's see what the result is. So in this case, we're saying add all of this with the ID equal 3. So let's see. So let's look at this. So here's the ID equal 3. Bang, done. So there you go, something extra, chainable functions. Hopefully that will make your life a whole lot easier and you have learned a great deal from this training course. Hey there, after watching that video, if you felt like, oh my god, that was really good information and I knew a little bit so I was able to follow through it, but I want to learn more about JavaScript as well as jQuery, and if you ever wanted to have a course in which you get to learn information that you can actually use to create application for business owners who is going to pay you to do the work, this course is right for you. And in here, I'm going to share with you the information that I personally use to create my applications for business owners who actually have a project for me that I work on. And hence, I give them the information that they want with my code, my programming knowledge, and they get to put that on their website or have their own custom app, and that drives profit for them, and hence I get more business for you. So the stuff that I'm going to teach you, just to give you an example, is going to be real life example, meaning all the stuff that you're going to be is not in theories. Hey, if you do this, it might work. It's actually going to work. If I'm going to say, hey, if you do this, this is actually going to work, where business people are going to look for that kind of stuff. So in this course, I'm going to walk you through a step by step everything you need to do it. So I'm going to leave the link in the description for you to click on it. After you get on this page, you can simply just click on this green button to enroll in the course. Or if you want to read through it, you can read through the whole thing. And in here, it tells you like, hey, average salary of a JavaScript developer is 91K, and it ranged from 48K to 125K. Hey, I don't know about you, but if you can make anywhere from like 85K per year, that's gonna change most people's life. So think about it, will that change your life if you can make 85K a year? So if the answer is yes, then continue reading it if you want to. It tells you more about like, hey, this is what the course is about, and there are some sample videos in here that I have left it for you to give you an idea of like, hey, this is what the course is, and to see if they fit for you or not. And after you're like, hey, this is the course that I want to take, and because I want to learn and master JavaScript, just click on the enroll button, and then what that's going to do is it's going to get you to this part. And in here, there's a whole bunch of videos in here that I have included, and some of the applications that you and I are going to build together that's going to help you increase your JavaScript knowledge, and also it's going to help you to develop or build your jQuery knowledge as well. And if you don't know what jQuery is, or if you have a little idea, tell you what, jQuery is the grandfather of all JavaScript. No matter how many other frameworks that came out, jQuery is the only one that's been around for more than 10 years. I don't know about any other frameworks that are out there that have been there that long. And then also jQuery has the greatest community in which you can get a lot of help on it. But after taking this course, I don't think you will need it. But what I want to do is, you can take this course. You can learn all of this wonderful knowledge in the videos that I'm going to have. But also, to take it one step further, because I really want you to be successful, there's a contact button right here. All you do is to click on it. You send me whatever question you may have in there. Then I will be able to answer those questions for you. But I want to take it one step further, because I always want to deliver more and more and more. If you have any question related to this course or related to any other programming course, you can click on that contact button and say, hey, Mark, I have this question. Is there any way we can do a virtual screen share? Which means I get it on a computer, you get it on your computer, no matter where you are in the world. We can both get on a computer, and I can look at your screen, and I can tell you, hey, if you move this thing here and edit this thing here, then you get your end result a lot faster. And that's something no one in this whole our industry offers it, but I want to offer it to you, because I really, truly, genuinely want you to be successful at it. So take this course, master JavaScript and jQuery, so that way you can create amazing, productive, and profitable app for other business owners. So hope to see you in the course soon.